Welcome to the Hypervoice, episode 49. This is a show all about Pokemon's video game championship series. I am your host, Stephen Morioka, and today I am joined by Alex Underhill.
Heyo.
Wow, Alex, that was a long one.
Yeah, gotta do something different. Mix it up a little bit.
Oh, mixing it up. I like that a lot. So, we're going to start with some feedback once again, and this comes from Matt Collins, who says, I love your show. You truly are the best competitive show out there, and there's no show out on the market that is even comparable. Take care, both of you. Thank you, Matt, so much for the feedback. We really appreciate that a lot. Actually, both of us got to meet you at the International in Columbus a few weeks ago, so that was super cool to meet you there. Thanks so much for the feedback.
And the rest of y'all were way too quiet. I didn't get to meet anybody else, but, maybe they're just scared, intimidated by my presence.
I guess so. Alex is too much of a strong player, superstar.
Okay.
Actually, I guess some other points of feedback I can say is I met Austin at the Madison Regional and then Terry at the International as well, who both just said, thanks for doing the show, we love it. So just want to say thanks to both of you as well for the feedback who talked to me there. So that was really awesome. Alex, has anyone else come up to you in person, since we've brought the show back?
Since we brought the show back, I don't believe so, no. But I'm probably wrong, and that's going to make me seem rude, but I just have a very poor memory, so please forgive me.
Okay, no worries. Well, let's start moving into our show here. We're going to be talking about stuff that's, I guess, maybe a few small things that are happening in July, kind of what to look forward to, what to speculate on, and just maybe a few review of some things that have happened recently. But today, we're just going to start with a question, and this is a question from our YouTube, from the user IDKDK. Why did John use Mimikyu? So, Alex, I believe you have a little bit of feedback on why John used Mimikyu on his team at the International.
Yeah, so I saw this question, and I worked a lot with Raghav Malavia, the user Moodyman, who is a strong competitor in the VGC scene, and John and Raghav, as well as a lot of other players like Kimo Nishimura and Colin Heyer, all worked together on this team that was able to get John to the top 8. Not sure if John mentioned that in the last episode or not, but there was quite a lot of people behind this, and I was a witness to most of it.
Yeah, John got top 4.
Yes, you're right, top 4.
Sorry to correct you there.
All good. And I was witness to a lot of this process, but I wasn't necessarily a driving force in it. But I went and reached out to Raghav, who was, in my opinion, the main driver behind this Ryogre team, and asked him what exactly was Mimikyu's purpose on the team. And he told me that it helps a lot in the mirror versus other Ryogre teams. It's nice to be able to set up Trick Room reliably, as the disguise ability makes it pretty easy to set up in the front of a lot of different Pokemon, especially when there are so many supporting Pokemon like Incineroar and Tapu Fini that aren't going to be able to knock it out, since the stronger attacks from Pokemon like Xerneas and Rayquaza will be wasted on the disguise. The Z move, the signature Z move, was also a strong factor, and then getting out that Z move, it does a lot of damage, whereas you can take out their Rayquaza, do a lot of damage to their Kyogre. So mostly a tool in the Ryogre versus Ryogre mirror. But if you want to see a good example of the Mimikyu in action, you can check out John's top 8 set on stream versus Ashton, where it got to really shine.
And that's still a pretty good showcase, even though Ashton had a Groudon Xerneas team.
That's a fair point, yeah. So that must have been much more about the speed control aspect, the Trick Room aspect, just being able to, reverse the dimensions when Ashton was using a Tornadus Kangaskhan team, which is very much about setting up Tailwind, letting Kangaskhan and Tornadus go down so that Groudon Xerneas in the back can kind of just do their business. But if Trick Room goes up, then things are certainly very different for the team.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I hope this answers the question as to Mimikyu's presence on the team. Now, we're going to move into our next topic here, which is just talking about how our regular season has ended. The qualification period for Worlds is now over. And, if excuse my sports metaphor here, but Worlds is essentially the playoffs. And all this period before we've been qualifying, trying to get points here, is essentially the regular season, right? This whole period here, Alex, you've qualified for Worlds and the playoffs here, essentially. So, just how are you feeling about that moving forward?
That's so weird to hear you asking me this as if it's not the both of us, but that's true. Since you came back so recently, you just had not enough opportunities to earn your championship points. But here I am, the sole host of this, co-host of this podcast with an invite. But if you wanted, I've got enough points that we could both go to day one. So if you want me to just lend you some, I can. Yeah,
but unfortunately that's not how it works. I know like some of the top points, people, the top people who have points have like maybe 6 to 5 invites individually or something. Or somewhere in that ballpark. 6,
even
5,
more
4
if you
something.
Compare the European players' invites. It's players like Yuri Alessio Bersetto. He's got even more invites because he's got a lot of CP, and the CP bar in Europe is even lower at 300 points.
Oh yes, that's right. So yeah, but the regular season's over. It's an exciting time to be heading to Worlds. If you are a competitor, you can be playing in there. So it's always nice just making this little analogy to the sports playoffs. How I know for both the NBA and NHL, so that's basketball and hockey, they qualify their top 16 teams into a bracket, and it's usually 8 per conference. So they play it out, and then they you always want to make the playoffs. You always want to make Worlds to have an opportunity there, even if you can't attend the event. It's always nice knowing you qualified and have a shot at becoming the world champion.
Yeah, and so as we kind of progress here, I ended up with a day one invite, as I have for the past couple of years, ever since the 2016 season, where I earned my first invite, coming just shy in the 2015 season. And ever since then, I've always been able to snag a day one invite. Some years relatively early, some years relatively late. This year, I was able to clinch my day one invite after my second place finish in Collinsville, where I netted myself, I think, 420 points total, so that's pretty nice. But I decided not to stop it there. I decided I wanted to earn a travel award to the North America International Championships. I've talked about this a bit already on the show, but anyway.
Yeah, really quick, though. Do you happen to know off the top of your head, like, when is the latest time you qualified for day one or got your Worlds invite within the last, 4 years, 4 seasons?
So, I know that my first year in 2016, I got it relatively early. Like, I don't think I was ever worried about that. I'm pretty sure the latest was in 2017, when... surprising to think even then, because that was the year I had won a regional, but the bar I believe was 500 points that year. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
you said 500, right?
Yes. In 2017?
Yeah, 500 then?
Yeah. So 500 points. I think I didn't get that until Madison, which for players more experienced or familiar with the scene, they would know that Madison is almost always at the very end of the season, if not the last regional of the season. But it's one of my mainstays because it's close to my region, so it's something that I always can count on. And I got it there, so just technically one major event before the national championships. But I've never been in that situation where I've had to earn my invite at nationals, unless you count the years where I didn't have an invite, like in 2014. But that was my first event ever, and then 2015, I had nowhere near enough points and somehow got close enough anyway.
Yeah, I definitely think in 2017 that the championship point bar of 500 probably was a big factor in that, because that was the highest level we've had for Masters in the video game so far.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of a CP bar, I wonder what the artificial bars ended up being in past years. That's something that could be interesting to look back at. Or maybe we've already talked about it on the show.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Kind of like back in 2013, 14, and 15, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Huh.
You know, when we had... Because I remember I got something like 43rd in the year 2015 when it was a top 40 players that got their invites from the U.S., and the number of CP I earned for my top 8, I believe, was something like 300. So I ended the season at 340, and that was not enough for the invite. So it would just be kind of interesting. Maybe Steven and I will break that down and talk about it another time, just for our own interest.
Yeah, of course, you've piqued mine already, so we'll maybe take a look into that a little later.
But anyway, jumping back into the status of my invite, what I'm trying to transfer to and transition towards is talking about the day 2 race. And so I started out going for just a trip to the North American Internationals by starting at attending Toronto. Then I went on to attend Berlin, and ended up getting that secured travel award to the North America International Championships, $2,000 because it is in region. And afterwards, I was actually looking pretty all right to have a chance at getting day 2 Worlds again, even though this was like the same spot I had been in the year before. However, it came down to a really intense, very cool finish amongst a couple of players, like probably 7 or 8, I'd say, players shooting for the final 2 spots in the top 8 of the day 2 race. There were players like myself, Wolfglick, Paul Chua, Iwe, Zoo. I apologize because I'm probably saying his name wrong. And then there was others like Raghav Malavia, other players that were close. But anyway, all the players that I had mentioned, aside from Iwe, had made it to the second day of competition. I snuck in at 6-3, so did Raghav. Paul Chua had made it, Wolfglick. And then I failed to mention Kyle Livinghouse. And then
yes, that's right.
I was like, I knew there's one critical one, and of course it's one of the very most important ones. Spoilers, but and then the day goes on. I'm 6-3. I have to go undefeated to make it into top 8 to have a chance to get this day 2. So like the main 4 people in the race are me, Paul Chua, Wolfglick, and Kyle Livinghouse. And if I had gone 5-0, 3 of the 4 would have made it into the top 8 because Kyle and Wolf both make it into top 8, securing those last 2 spots. And it was just an awesome race to the end. Just, I don't think we've had, while the system has only been in place for 3 years now, I don't think we've had such a close race in the end. And that was just really, really cool that we nearly had 3 of the players vying for this final spot in the top 8 make it into the top 8 of North America's international cut. And yeah, just a very, very intense, down-to-the-wire race. Yeah, and great for those 2 guys. Heartbreaking for me, of course, but I'm very proud with my finish. I talked about this last episode, but I think 4-1 on day 2 is very, very cool, very strong, and I'm happy with my top 16. And I made it past 1,000 CP. That's really cool too.
Yeah, that's a very respectable finish, as well as like in the overall standings as well. So all you gotta do is just go through day 1 at Worlds, which you've done in the past twice before. So it's like no big deal for Alex. And yeah, so we're just gonna see what happens there. But so has missing out, being so close again, like kind of deterred you from the whole system, or it's like is it what does it do for your motivation? Does it motivate you even more to like try for it again?
So my stance on that is that it was a huge mental toll, the snowball, the day 2 race the first time around last year, to the point that I was almost ready to quit VGC. Then it came around this year again, and I told myself I was going to take it a lot easier, which I did. And for better or for worse, I think I did get closer this year. I don't know. It's tough to say. It's not really a defined measurement. But
okay. Yeah, kind of just taking all the motions in stride as they go along, based on how well your finishers are doing as well as timing during the season. So, yeah, something to, just be considerate of is just thinking about, I guess for everyone's own positions within the snowball race, and whenever this starts up again for next season, is how much time, how much money are you willing to put into it? I don't know. Like, it's not something I am personally gonna be aiming to shoot for. It's almost kind of a ruse in many ways, but if I'm in the position to, I'll give it a shot. And if it starts falling off, then it's like, okay, just aim for the day one Worlds invite. That's all you really actually need.
That's how I've approached it both times that it fell into my hands. Was when the opportunity struck, I struck back. I tried to capitalize on that, whether it was winning the first regional of the season, or in this case, top cutting and just shooting for a travel award because of the new system. And that travel award system ended up giving me enough CP to give myself a shot at the day 2 race. But going forward, I don't think I'm going to be intentionally making any attempts at it. It's just going to be does it fall into my lap? Does it come to me? And if it does, I won't be afraid to try again.
Okay, fantastic. And I am expecting myself to be a more of a player within the season, not necessarily for the race for championship points, but just I'll be around more next season. Just so if that hasn't been evidently clear yet to everybody.
Steven will try harder, guys.
Yeah, we're gonna do our best. Hopefully, my busy schedule will allow me to just practice more, play more, go to more tournaments. I would love to do that.
Hey, if I can do it with my 9-to-5 job, then you can too.
I know, right? So, problem is I work weekends all the time. So
that's not my fault.
I know it's not your fault. We'll work it out. It's time to cue up the beat. We need the Beatles right now. What's that song? It's something about like we're gonna work it out. It's something I don't remember.
Everybody's working for the weekend.
But
that is not by the Beatles.
No, that's different. Anyway, so let's talk about regionals. But
which one?
You may. Good question. So all of them. So I'm not talking about all of them that have happened this past season. I'm more curious about the ones that are coming up. So about the regional schedule from last season, I believe that was announced sometime in July, maybe mid-July, where they just announced all the regional dates. For most of North America, there are a few in some of the other regions as well. So when should we expect like an announcement about at least the 2020 season's regional dates? What are you thinking? What would be ideal?
So in general, July seems to be an important time for VGC, especially announcement-wise, because, it's the time that our season is done. Everything's kind of settling, but there are players that already begin to look forward to what the next season promises, and Pokemon does like to provide us the courtesy of knowing in advance what we should be expecting for the next season, so it is nice that we get these dates well in advance. But in general, we can expect that sometime in July, or at the very latest, Worlds will be knowing pretty much everything going forward for the next season. The regional dates are a bit more important because oftentimes there is a regional championship in September, often early September, and so if we have one in that first weekend of September following Worlds, in mid-August, that's just not enough time. So hoping that, sometime within July, towards the end of July at the latest, we learn when the regionals are, and then going forward, more circuit info. Maybe we'll get that at Worlds again. Who knows? But I'm just excited in general. That's one thing that I kind of was thinking about a bit today. Just offhand, just randomly was like, wow, when we go to Worlds, we're gonna learn more, not only about Sword and Shield, but about like the circuit going forward and stuff. And I'm just excited for Worlds in a whole different way right now.
Yeah, they're gonna bring some kind of promo video or something new to reveal at the World Championships, as they've traditionally done in the past.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Steven, I have a strange little bit of a trivia question for you.
All right, what is your question?
I'm going to test your Sun and Moon announcement knowledge. So,
all right.
you and I both went to the San Francisco World Championships in 2016, And this was during the time that they were announcing all the Sun and Moon things, like teasing little stuff. What Pokemon did they announce while we were currently in transit to Worlds at San Francisco?
Wait, while we were currently in transit, as in flying there?
Pretty much. Like, like they announced it like the Thursday that Wednesday or Thursday that the players were traveling to Worlds. So not at Worlds yet, but just before it.
Oh my gosh.
They announced a Pokemon, because I remember being in the airport, getting off my plane, and seeing Twitter buzzing about, this Pokemon has been announced. Look, check out the trailer. And so I remember Gina and I watched this trailer while in line for our next flight. So I'm just curious if you remember this experience at all.
Oh gosh, hold on here. So they announced a Pokemon while everyone was traveling to Worlds. This was not at the World Championships specifically.
No, and so while Steven thinks here...
I know the one at Worlds was Crabrawler.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. As while Steven thinks here, I wanted to rule out that it was not... I'm not referring to the promo video that they showed pre-Worlds with the Crabrawler, which was an awesome, awesome video. I know we've talked about it before on the show, but it was just such an exciting announcement to be a part of, to be there live for when they showed Crabrawler beating down all of the top Pokemon from the VGC 2016. It was just a great, great experience. But there was a Pokemon for Sun and Moon announced before this. Steven?
So, I do not know 100%. I'm just going to take a guess. Is that okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Was it Jangmo-o?
No, it was not Jangmo-o.
Okay. I have no idea then. Who was it?
It was Turtonator.
Turtonator? I don't recall this at all. This is so weird.
Yeah. So the Turtonator stuff was dropped around that time, and we were seeing, like, it show its signature move, Shell Trap, I believe is the name of it. And just, they showed a trailer showcasing Turtonator. And yeah, I mean, that's really the end of my story. There's not much else to it, but I just remember, specifically waiting in a line at the airport, and they announced Turtonator.
Huh. How about that? Yeah, it's weird because I don't recall this at all, and it's like, Turtonator, huh. It's too bad it never became relevant ever, so far.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, like, to be fair, I'm not too bummed by it. He's an ugly boy.
Wow, so pretty cool stuff there. Yeah. Anyway, just to get back to the regionals dates thing, it'd be nice to have these relatively soon. It is July now. It'd be nice to have these so that everybody can start planning their schedules around school, work, what weekends they need to get off, when they need to travel. And it's also a somewhat decent indicator of when the internationals are going to be between. So it'd be nice to have that information just so we can kind of ballpark some potential weekend dates and just be able to start planning our season schedules ahead of time. So that's about it for the regional dates discussion here. Now we're going to get into a little bit more Sword and Shield stuff at this point. Alex, a question I have for you here is, in the past we've seen several different types of type chart changes in just response to, not really in response to anything, but they were changes to try and balance the type chart a little bit more, right? So these were, I guess, some examples you can think of are the introduction of the Dark and Steel type to counteract Psychic from transitioning from Generation 1 to Generation 2, and the same thing for Fairy when we transitioned from Generation 5 to Generation 6. Fairies were for the dragons. Now,
and fighting.
Lead us off here, but my question is, what kind of type chart changes, if any, are you expecting in Sword and Shield?
So my thought is, one, we've already gotten the demos and such, so if there were anything major, we likely would have discovered it so far. But if anything, I think we could expect to see a tweak to Fairy, seeing it as the most recent type to get added into the mix. And
yeah, I was thinking along the same lines, as something's going to be, a Fairy will be affected in some way.
Yeah. I could see Fire now being super effective on Fairies because, Fire resists Fairy right now. It'd be nice if They did try to make a bit of a balance adjustment by adding Fairy and making it weak to the Steel and Poison types, two types that are not very known for their offensive prowess. So they tried to make them a little bit more viable, but the reason that it didn't work so well is because Steel and Poison type Pokemon are often not the best attackers. They are few and far between. Not to say that there aren't, there are several. I won't say that there aren't several, because there's like Gengar and Scizor and Stakataka and what have you. But I don't know. It was an attempt to make things viable. And then the other thing, just from a balance standpoint, is I think we could use we could see some changes to the ice typing. Ice, just as a defensive type, is really, really kind of pathetic. I mean, it only resists itself. And I think just adding something else, I don't know what the something else would be, but maybe resisting water, resisting something else, just to make it more viable as a defensive type would be very nice.
Yeah, I wonder, like, ice, if you try to think about it within a physical standpoint, like, ice would be something that I would see could resist grass, but I just don't know if they're going to do anything about ice. One thing I would like to see is, with regards to Fairy, making Bug super effective on it, because Bug doesn't have too many super effectives on it for the positive end, and, like, it's kind of weird how Bug's kind of a really poor typing in general, and it's, one of the reasons we have Pokemon altogether is because Satoshi Tajiri collected bugs when he was a kid, right? So,
yes.
I would like to see some kind of buff towards Bug in general. It would be nice if it were against Fairy types, but Bug and Ice could use some nice benefits there. Fighting and Ground have been notoriously some of the strongest types in terms of, I think they have the most super effective coverage. Maybe Ice as well.
Yeah, I believe, I don't know if Ice is up there in most super effective. I think Ice just is renowned for being a very strong pairing with the Ground type. But I think you are right in that first statement. And that's why I made sure to include fighting in that, in the reasons why Fairy was introduced and made to balance not just dragons, but fighting types like Terrakion, I remember, ruled the game in Gen 5. I don't know about VGC, but I just remember with the plethora of good fighting types that they added in Gen 5, it did kind of need a nerf.
So yeah, I think those are some of the few things we want to see about the type chart changes. Hopefully, I don't really know what to expect if they are going to do anything. We may even see minor things like when we saw Steel change a few of its resistances from Gen 5 to Gen 6 because of the introduction of Aegislash. We can go into more detail into that later, but let's move on to our next thing. One small little topic I want to point out is just about the Nintendo Switch, and specifically our legendaries for Sword and Shield, both Zacian and Zamazenta. So, this took me a few weeks to realize since their release, but Alex, have you taken a close look at their names?
Yeah, I see that they both start with Z and are hard to pronounce.
Yeah, so that's a good point. Yeah, I'm still struggling with the pronunciation on all that, and I guess we can always debate our fun little pronunciations later on. Speaking of which, Ferrothorn?
Yeah,
Are you Ferrothorn?
Yeah, it's a Ferrothorn. Okay. Don't worry.
Why do some people call it Ferrothorn? That's so weird.
I don't
understand.
I know the origin story, Steven.
Okay. Can you share it really quick?
It was the Pokédex 3D app. Do you remember that? That came out for the 3DS?
No, I do not.
The Pokédex 3D app, something like that. Anyway, that one had all the Pokemon up to, I think it was actually just Gen 5, because I think it came out during like Black and White 2 era. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But it had pronunciations for all the Pokemon. And that flipped a lot of people's ideas of how Pokemon are pronounced on their head. And so a lot of official commentators will do Ferrothorn because it's like the official pronunciation. But I mean, boo that.
Yeah, boo that is right. Yeah, I don't get it. It's so weird. Like, I wonder how they said it in the anime, because I don't know how they call Ferrothorn in that one there.
They probably do the same, honestly. Probably Ferrothorn.
Alright, well, whatever. Let's, after getting derailed here, let's move back to Zacian and Zamazenta. Anyway, the cool thing I wanted to point out is how if you look at the end of their names, they both you can kind of see they spell out cyan and magenta, right? So those are, think about those colors. Those are also the colors for the Sword and Shield logos. Those are also the colors of the launch Joy-Cons on the Switch. It's so cool.
Oh.
It's so cool.
Wow. Okay, so wait. That
blew
last
my
pull,
mind.
that last pull, the Switch Joy-Con colors. Now, is the red Joy-Con for the Switch actually magenta?
I don't think they're actually magenta, but you got that whole color scheme going, right? You got that yin and yang of the blue versus the red. You have that yin and yang of the Switch itself as a handheld and home console hybrid. You've also got that whole yin and yang going with the two items that are in our titles, the sword and the shield, right?
Yes. Now, I don't want to deflate you entirely, Steven, but I am going to have to poke you with a little needle.
Poke me, go.
I'm pretty sure every game has been red versus blue.
This is true.
Like, if we go down the line from starting at literally red versus blue, Lugia versus Ho-Oh, Lugia's got blue to him while Ho-Oh is more red.
Yep.
Then we have Kyogre and Groudon, which are both Ruby and Sapphire, very much red versus blue. Dialga and Palkia, Dialga representing more of a blue shade. Palkia was a pink, but from the red family. Black and white, while you would think no, the lightning that Zekrom does is all blue, while Zekrom uses red fire. A lot of
you meant Reshiram, right?
Did I say Zekrom twice?
I think yeah, you said Zekrom twice. I was a little confused.
Yes.
But yeah, I think we get your point. Zekrom and Reshiram with the colors there.
And then, it goes on, like Sun and Moon and X and Y. Even then, like Yveltal's red, Xerneas is blue, Solgaleo is representing red color schemes, while Lunala is representing blue. Yeah.
Very, very good. Yeah, you're right. No, you're totally right there. Like, this has been here since the start, right? So, but it was just so cool to see the colors and the names, which I hadn't realized for a
really cool.
Decent amount of time. It's just like, they're the colors of the launch Joy-Cons. It's so awesome. It's so clever. It's so clever. It's so cool. I love Nintendo. This is great.
On a side note, I am still totally holding out for them to announce the Switch 2.0. We might have talked about that when we talked a bit more about the Direct, but I'm still waiting very much for that upgraded Switch, and especially so for them to announce some kind of Pokemon one, or Zelda. I would love a Zelda one, honestly, probably more, but seeing as how the timeline would line up better for them to release the Switch 2.0 this year with the new Pokemon games, I would love to pick myself up a special edition one. If they kept the colors the same, but just put the Sword and Shield legendaries on the Joy-Cons, that could be really cool.
Yeah, they've been doing a lot of Switch bundles a lot recently with a lot of the games, big major the games that have been coming out. Even like Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee had their own Switch bundle. So I imagine we're probably going to get something for Sword and Shield with the legendaries on. I think it's going to be, I'm hoping.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, I just thought it was cool. I wanted to share, even though I may have had a big oversight on our entire history of Pokemon in general. But let's move on from here. I've gushed enough about this. But Alex, take it away for our next topic.
Oh, okay. So Steven got a bit of a head start on this one, but that's just because he remembered better than I did. But it's always fun. As we've talked about, things are leading up to Worlds. We're in that between period, and Worlds always has a theme. Obviously, that theme is based around its location. So this year we've got DC, which we've been in DC before, and Steven could probably get better details on what DC was like in the past. But what we're going to be talking about here is we want to guess not just exactly what the theme is, but more specifically, what will the Worlds Pikachu look like? Since every year they give the invitee and I guess anybody that wants to go to the Pokemon Center shop at the store a Pikachu, and a lot of the merchandise is featured around a special Pikachu that is themed after the location. But Steven, if you could bring it back to my original question, what exactly was DC like in the past for the Worlds theme?
So it was the first year we had Mega Evolution, so there were a lot of Mega Pokemon featured in the picture, but Pikachu specifically was, because we were in the capital of the United States, it was all about like being, we're in the capital, we're American superheroes. So Pikachu was actually wearing a cape and like this nice heroic belt on it. So if you just like search for the Pokemon Worlds 2014 Pikachu, it's probably going to show up with that picture with Pikachu in a nice cape and a, hero belt. So it just looked like Pikachu looked like a superhero.
Yeah, based on that, I do think it's going to be very different this year. And if we were going to DC the first year, I would not have guessed superhero Pikachu at all. And so where I'm coming from is that DC, I'm thinking kind of like presidential kind of things. And so my thought is that it's going to be Pikachu in a powdered wig.
Oh gosh, you went there.
Yeah, I think it might be something like that, like a throwback to like U.S. presidents or something. I know with a couple of friends we joked about a potential like Abraham Lincoln Pikachu, but I think that's too specific. So I think it'd be kind
with a big top hat and all that.
Yeah,
okay,
top
I
hat
see
and
what
a
you're
beard.
saying, like Washington and Adams and all Jefferson, those folks in the early days.
Yes, exactly. So the big fancy powdered wig, and then we did kind of see a Pikachu similar to this. No, it was like a pirate in 2015, right, in Boston.
Yeah, it was like Explorer Pikachu, right? Because it had the scope,
Yes.
kind of like it was searching for new land, right?
But dressed, I would imagine my Pikachu idea would be dressed somewhat similar to that, dressed proper, dressed regal, not regal, but just like a president wearing a powdered wig would look. That's the vibe I'm going for.
Gotcha. More like 1600s, 1700s hairstyle. I follow you.
Now, Steven, what are you thinking?
Okay, so I'm thinking, kind of like a Secret Service. The protective services there.
Oh,
I'm thinking a Secret Service Pikachu with sunglasses. Kind of like that little mic headset thing they have in the earpiece.
Yes.
And then Pikachu's gonna be dressed in a suit.
Okay.
Suit and dress pants, so it looks like CIA Pikachu. CIA or Secret Service Pikachu, something like that.
They went ahead and kind of like eliminated some ideas from the table when they announced there was this line of plushes that happened in the past couple of years where they had Pikachu dressed up as a bunch of different like occupations, I think. And so I remember one popular one was the Pokemon Twitter kept tweeting out about intern Pikachu. You might remember this. They kept posting pictures of intern Pikachu around the office. And so I'm kind of wondering if they already have a Pikachu with a suit on like the official Pokemon store.
Okay, so kind of like, if they have that as the intern Pikachu within that store already, so that would eliminate as a possibility. Yeah, maybe. I mean, someone could take a look through that shop and see if we got anything, right? Or if it would be out of contention now.
So I just Googled intern Pikachu. I'm looking at him now. He's got these blue big frame glasses on, and then he does have a suit with a blue tie, holding a little bag. And Pokemon tweeted out a bunch of I remember this, a bunch of stuff on Twitter. Might have been from a specific Twitter account called Intern Pikachu. I thought it was on the official Pokemon Twitter. No, this might be just some kind of it's just some kind of fan page. Anyway.
Okay, there's a fan page. Okay, that's hilarious, actually.
Yeah, a fan page just posting a bunch of Intern Pikachu doing office things. But I believe the Pokemon Company official did tweet out a bunch of Intern Pikachu stuff. Anyway, I think there might have been other ones in the line with this where Pikachu was dressed up as other occupations, but I like the idea of a Secret Service Pikachu. That does sound really cool. I love the idea of the earpiece just in Pikachu's gigantic ear.
Yeah, gotcha. So I think we both had reasonable guesses here, based on based on what we know about our capital, but and just Washington D.C. and stuff. So we'll see what happens, right? Oh my gosh, if we actually if one of our predictions was right, that's gonna be nuts.
Oh, we've never been right.
we never guessed about the World's Pikachu on the show.
Have we not?
You know?
I thought we
only
did.
Locations in the past, but we'll get to that eventually. Not this time. Not this time. Sorry.
I think Steven's wrong.
Okay, that's fine. Let's. I've been wrong about many things. Let's move on. How's that?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna stop whispering because I think it's kind of weird. But also, like, will people even be able to hear us doing that? Probably. So, anyway, our predictions for the World's Pikachu here. Now, okay, Alex, and now we're gonna talk about this last topic here, which has been, kind of a
hot
I guess
button.
A hot button, hot topic.
Hot button.
A negative highlight of the past week or so. But you want to take it away? What's been happening?
Yeah. So normally, Steven and I like to dance around the controversial because we don't want to hurt any feelings. But I think this is worth talking about just because what it means going forward for the Pokemon community. And if you've been paying attention to Twitter and the VGC scene, you'll notice that a couple of bans were issued to players that we are going to refrain from naming as we don't want to draw more attention to them, but for better or for worse. But yeah, a couple of players were given bans, some for 3 months, some for like indefinite amounts, and it was because of their online behavior that this was doled out. The players received emails stating that this was from the official like rule setting company. There's a email like pictures of the email floating around if you want to get a more exact look at what it's talking about. But
okay,
it was from the rule creating group of Pokemon or something or other, stating that because their behavior was not conducive with like the spirit of the game, and because the Pokemon Company is allowed to issue bans for things that they see fit, they did just that, and these players are banned from events, and whether it's like the time period is listed, they know whether what the start date, what the end date is, and it's very interesting to see something like this finally happen.
Yeah, so I think probably an important thing to note about this is that Pokemon would not be... I don't think Pokemon would be doing this unless they thought it was necessary, right? So just based on their observations that they could see is that this was a necessary move on their part so that they get the best look from their player base.
And so that they can create the best community that we can possibly have here.
Yeah, and that's very true. We don't want to be seeing like all these negative behaviors online and, just toxicity in general. It's never healthy in Pokemon or in, just in general, like I just mentioned earlier. So, I think this is a move I'm obviously with them on this. This is not something that I really want to be seeing in the community, is this kind of behavior. So I'm happy with the decisions they made. Yeah. So these decisions, these bans, kind of remind me of a certain situation from many, many years ago. We're not going to go into too many details, but Alex, do you remember what I'm referring to?
Yeah, so that I did want to ask you, Steven, because it made me think, what kind of bans have we seen in the past? I know that over the past couple of years, we've seen TOs exercise their power to ban players from their local scenes, but this is a circuit-wide ban, and I'm curious. I haven't seen anything like this in recent years. So what have we seen in the past?
So probably the most notable one is from, and so this is Ruben from 2012. It was the feces flinging incident from that national tournament in 2012. Yeah, so he was banned indefinitely. That was because that was a story that made the press. So it was in articles all over the world, essentially, and Pokemon's PR, their public relations team, essentially had to come out and make a statement about it. So
oh my gosh,
that did not look good on them, and they had to essentially ban Ruben indefinitely, for better or for worse for him. But Yeah, that's essentially the biggest one. We've had other smaller bans for maybe like 6-month periods, or I want to say 12-month periods for other smaller behavior. I think we maybe have had one online, or had one in the past before for online behavior. Don't quote me on that though. And there's another one for someone stole a sign from the tournaments. That's it.
Yeah. What about we talked about the story on the show before, but Matt Seibelden, I believe is his name, Bears fan. Did he get a ban?
No, nothing happened at that tournament. This was 2011, so we're only in like third year, really officially. And Mike Lezik, who was the head of organized play at the time, it was just the issued warning of someone tried to pull this. What's the word here? The
impersonation.
The impersonations. Someone tried to pull the impersonation of another player. Don't do it again, otherwise you will face some sort of indefinite ban from organized events.
Dang, I think that's a little light, but I mean, I guess warnings are nice.
Yeah, I mean, especially like just considering our Pokemon has a larger stage presence right now than it did in the past. You know, even with the Play Pokemon, or Pokemon now has its own like official Twitter account for the competitive play
yeah,
Pokemon.
That is pretty cool.
If you haven't seen that, like, go check it out. Go follow that account, because that's specifically for us. Like, because we're going to be in there as well as the trading card game and the Pokken side of things as well.
Now that Twitter, I think, is worth talking about just a little bit. From my personal standpoint, that seeing that Twitter get created gave me a lot of hope for next season. Not just from the viewpoint of, oh, hey, maybe this is another way that they will see us, listen to us, and, you know, hear us as a community, and also have another way to reach out to us, get messages to the competitive players in the Play Pokemon program. But also, it just made me hopeful for all the players that were doubting VGC would come back, you know, like, oh, how are we going to do it on the Switch? Or, you know, what's going to happen post Worlds? You know, the format is listed to only go till Worlds. Like, could VGC possibly go away? No, I don't think people need to worry. And this is just another bit of evidence that I think helps ease people's worries, is that Pokemon has created an official Play Pokemon account. I don't think they're going anywhere.
Yeah, it's a very positive sign moving forward here, right? It's nice to see it. You know, who knows when's the next time, you know, there's a chance you, the players, the listeners out there, could be featured on that account. It's super cool. Go check it out. But yeah, Alex, any final thoughts on Pokemon cracking down on any players with this inappropriate online behavior, essentially? Because I'm with them. If we do see more of this in the future, obviously we can report it to Pokemon, and we can at least take solace knowing that they're going to be taking a more finer and detailed look at these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is a good thing. I think it is a somewhat scary thing, just because I just hope that nobody attempts to abuse it, whether it's what am I trying to say? We just didn't get quite enough information on these bans for me to ease my worries, basically, is what I'm trying to say. I hope that going forward, nobody tries to abuse this, whether it's falsifying information, making use of Photoshop to make messages seem like they're from somebody when they're not. So hopefully going forward, we don't see this go south. But I think it's a very good thing, and I trust Pokemon to do it well.
Yeah, just be wary out there. Be careful with what you're doing, because nothing's
be a good
hidden
person
on the internet.
Just be a good person.
Yeah, be a good person.
You don't have to worry if you're a good person.
We got to be promoting kind, positive behavior on the internet and just in general, especially nowadays.
Absolutely.
All right, so I think that'll do it for our show here. Sorry to end it on a more sour note here, but maybe it wasn't so sour. But Alex, do you have any last one other random trivia question we could do before we close?
One more trivia. I have an easy one that's my go-to Pokemon trivia question, but I feel like you'd get this one too easily.
Can we just do it anyway? Let's see. You gotta test me.
All right, well, Steven, I'm firing it right at you. And that's actually a little bit of a pun, because, Steven, there are 2 non-attacking, non-damaging fire attacks. What are they?
Non-attacking, non-damaging fire attacks. Let's see. So, one is Will-O-Wisp. And
Yes.
let's see. There's another one, huh?
Will-O-Wisp is the one that everybody gets.
Yeah. Sunny Day?
It is Sunny Day.
All right, nice. I kept thinking about it. It's like, Will-O-Wisp was the other one. I feel like the other one might have done with boosting stats. So I was thinking Fiery Dance, but that's not right because Volcarona learns that and that does damage and has a chance to raise your special attack or something. And I was like, what's another fire? And then it clicked.
I hope this fact isn't wrong because I did this one back in like 6th gen. I remember I thought this one up driving down to Nationals in 2014 in my first year. So hopefully it's not outdated. Hopefully it has stayed true through the new moves introduced in Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon, but I believe it is.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so Will-O-Wisp and Sunny Day, let us know if we missed anything. That'd be kind of neat. That'd be kind of funny.
And also give us other trivia questions if you want.
Yeah, while it's not our highest priority on this show, we welcome it. We'll welcome any questions or feedback.
Just
about
questions
the
in
show
general.
here.
Just talk to us. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. What would you like, for the listeners out there, what would you like to hear us talk about on the show? Yeah, that'd be great. But thank you all for listening. That's gonna do it for our show this time. Remember, you can find us on a lot of different places. You can email us your feedback or questions if you'd like to be a little more anonymous to our email, vgchypervoice@gmail.com. You can also find us on YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify, where you can subscribe, like, share, listen, download the shows from those places. However you like to enjoy listening to this show. You can also find our group on Facebook, that is The Hypervoice. You can also follow the show on Twitter at The Hypervoice. And lastly, you can follow the two of us. You can find me at Super Morioka. And Alex, where can people follow you?
You can follow me at Lexicon VGC.
All right, everyone. Thank you once again for listening to our show. We hope you've enjoyed it, and we hope you stay tuned for more of The Hypervoice.
Alola Lola.
All right, we did it.